Hello, my name is Joseph Barber, and today I'm reviewing Pawnbarian. It is a chess-inspired roguelite puzzle game with elements of deck builders, and it was released on the 25th of September this year. Players are presented with a stark grid featuring the titular character, the Pawnbarian, or two alternate classes, and a variety of fantasy monsters. They then use chess pieces to dictate their movement on the board, chosen from one of three drawn randomly from a deck of pieces. They can be enhanced after each combat, offering additional abilities like a shield to prevent damage or directional attacks after moving. After the player takes their moves, all the remaining enemies attack if in range and then move closer. Once a board is cleared, the player chooses from random bonuses from their existing pieces and moves on to the next, with each level consisting of 7 encounters. Pawnbarian is almost a game designed for me. I used to play chess competitively, and my go-to games are roguelites, but it just doesn't quite work. I played the original demo of the game, which I'll link below, and really enjoyed it. I found it difficult, but still reasonable, with enough different elements to keep me interested. In the full game, however, there are 3 primary elements that make it not work for me, and they all come down to game feel. The first is an issue with the visual design. This game was designed by 2 people, Jan Wojtecki and Piotr Wojtecki. Apologies for the names. And I understand their limitations, but my problem is that all the enemies blend together. They often have hugely different effects for attacking or taking damage, but at a glance it can be very difficult to tell. This is especially an issue in the third and final level, where enemies often have 2+ abilities, and it's mentally taxing to remember them all, and a chore to double check. The second is that the game teaches you certain lessons, then other mechanics are introduced punishing those lessons. The first dungeon introduces the cantrip bonus for pieces. When played, this draws an additional card, and gives you a move, allowing for satisfying combos and the ability to clear large boards of enemies. In the very next dungeon, however, spark enemies are introduced, which have an ability that activates when you use one of these special cards. For me, the cantrips were a very fun part of the game, and I felt punished for using this mechanic with these new enemies. The third issue I have is to do with the chess theming. This is certainly more of a personal problem than a game design issue, but chess is all about planning ahead and certainty with regards to what happens on any given turn. With Pawnbarian, you get a random selection of pieces, with another random selection next round, making it impossible to predict exactly what will happen. The same issue occurs with enemies' movements, which seem to be slightly random as well, even if their attacks are not. A conveyor belt of pieces would solve this issue nicely, and I think it would fit in better with the idea of being a puzzle game first. One other small thing is you have the option to pass the turn even when you could make a move. Sometimes this is strategically beneficial, as there is only one safe space and the character is already in it. In chess, however, you cannot do this. There is a concept called zugzwang, where a player is forced to make a move, worsening their position. Again, this hurts the theme to me, and is a symbol change. Now that's all very negative, and I don't want to say the game is bad. I still enjoyed most of my time with it, and while the problems outlined were significant and frustrating, there is still a good base. I think the first playthrough of the game can be very satisfying, and there are definitely moments which offer the aha moment that all puzzle games crave. Pawnbarian began development in early March of 2019 as part of the yearly 7DRL competition, with the aim to create a full roguelite game in 1 week. It received a fair amount of acclaim and attention, including an article in PC Gamer. In August of that year, work began in earnest, and in September an alpha was released on itch.io. Slow updates were then made until the final release. The core gameplay is relatively simple. Play pieces, represented as cards, to move your character around the chessboard and defeat monsters. During each turn, a player has 2 actions by default out of their 3 cards, though cantrips exist to extend this by 1 card. There's never a way to gain extra actions, although a player can buy extra health. There are 3 levels, or dungeons, each with 7 encounters. The first, the Goblin Cave, has no real gimmick and mostly teaches the mechanics. The next, the Golem Fortress, has anti-cantrips as the main mechanic. In the Foul Shrine, the final dungeon, after enemies are killed, they move the character in the direction they were attacked from, damaging them if movement is impossible. There is a decent amount of randomness. Enemy encounters have a specific theme, but the individual monsters change. The player's pieces/options to move are also randomized, which can lead to frustrating moments when there are no good options. The upgrades between them are also random, though there are only 4 potential bonuses, so it's still fairly predictable. After a player finishes a dungeon, there is the option to keep playing, facing an infinite gauntlet of increasingly difficult encounters. This is a great option, and one I wish more roguelites had. The visual design of the game is simple. stark white and blue with some highlights in yellow and red. As I said before, this can lead to confusion amongst enemy types, but in terms of appeal, it works well for a puzzle game like this. The style works well for an abstract game, but there is definitely some dissonance between that and the story the game is trying to tell. The enemies consist of strange demonic creature mashups like capybaras, spider toads, and snake pakas, as well as orcs and goblins. With the names, they appear to be humorous, but the art for the splash screens, blood splatters, and main menu seems to be serious. It never quite comes together, and I wonder if it would have been better served as fully abstract, with basic shapes like pentagons and squares combined with colors or effects. As far as music and sound effects, they are consistently good. It's not a soundtrack I'll revisit on my own, but it suits the story they're trying to tell and could easily be listened to for the duration of the game. The sound effects are satisfying when destroying pieces, which help the basic gameplay feel immensely. While there have certainly been a large number of roguelites and deck builders that have come out recently, Pawnbarian is primarily a puzzle game. Puzzle games have largely migrated to mobile now, with few seeing full releases on Steam. It's nice seeing something like this as a paid release, as opposed to free-to-play that are more common. Overall, if you like the look of the game at all, or are interested in chess, I would recommend trying it out. The free demo should tell you all you need to know about whether you'll like the full game or not. If you don't fit into these categories, however, I can't recommend it due to a frustrating game feel and a disconnect between elements of design. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. Please check out my Patreon below if you'd like to. And wherever you are, I hope you have a good day.